Jesse Chason with Lisa Blanchard as the host of Airing Addiction.
I share often my journey started on this campus. Got sober as a client here, just like you.
I really do see phenomenal change.
Always hope. I've seen situations that on the surface look impossible become possible.
Doing this podcast is to share those recovery stories, be honest about what the challenges are and have some real conversations, but kind of share that out on the airwaves.
All right, welcome everybody. It is another episode of Airing Addiction. If you're listening to this live or close to live, we are in October. And so I wanted to kick us off just with some recognition in case we have any listeners in the areas that were impacted by these very recent and currently active hurricanes. So those in the southeast part of the state in Florida and from Helene in North Carolina and beyond, just want to send out some love and support from the Airing Addiction podcast land. But with that, we're gonna, hopefully give folks some hope and some positive things to listen to today. And I will let Jesse introduce our guest.
Thanks, Lisa. Good morning, everybody. If you're listening live or close to this, and I certainly echo Lisa's sentiments about everybody that has been displaced and impacted by these storms, sending positive vibes and well wishes to everyone impacted. And I think today's guest will help with those positive vibes. Today we have Ralph Doobie. He is somebody who I've had the pleasure of knowing for a few years now. And he is going to tell his story about how he came to us, and I won't give anything away. Doobie, the floor is yours.
Jesse, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. You know what? My growing up, my whole life, I never really had any problem with drugs. I smoked a little pot here and there growing up, drank at a keg party here and there. But my whole life, I never had any problem with drugs. I was living a great life. I played a lot of sports growing up as an adult. I played in a lot of men's sports leagues. And I was just living my life, like a normal, everyday person would live their life. No problems. I had a job. I had a wife, and everything was going great. And then around the year 2000, I had my first of 7 back surgeries. And I would have a surgery, then I would be okay for a little bit, then I'd have another surgery. Through a bunch of years, I kept having surgeries, and doctors kept giving me Percocet. Month after month, year after year, I was on Percocet. And for many years, I took the medication just as they told me to do it. Just as the bottle said, take as needed for pain. I did it for probably about 18 years. I did it exactly the way I was supposed to do it. And then around the year maybe 2019 or so, is when I started having some problems. I started running out a little early. I would run out a little bit early before my prescription would end, and it got to a point where I was running out, frequently every month. I was running out early, and I got to a point where I had to start buying them off the street because I didn't have enough, and I was in need of them. At that point I was addicted, and my body was crying out for them, and I started buying them off the street. I was just going through life at that point. Like I said, I was addicted, and I was I had to hustle. I had to do things just so I could get pain meds, off the street. And then at some point, after buying them, off the street, I started snorting them. And then I started snorting them, and then, after a while, it got to a point where, I was buying the crushed pills, and they were crushing them with fentanyl. And at some point, I started snorting fentanyl, and it got really bad for me. I was really addicted at that point, and I was snorting fentanyl. I had a couple issues where one day I came home from work, and my nephew had he was my roommate at the time. My nephew had bought, I remember specifically, he had bought 6 pills, and I came home and I grabbed 2 of them, and I crushed them up and I snorted them, and then I was sitting there, and next thing I know, there's a paramedic at the bottom of my bed. That was my first introduction to overdosing on fentanyl. It was kind of a crazy scene. The paramedics, they wanted to take me to the hospital, and I refused. I didn't want to go to the hospital. As soon as the paramedics left, I turned to my nephew and I said, where are those other 4 pills? I know there's 4 left. I want them. I was willing to do, I wanted what had just killed me. Those 2 perks, those 2 fentanyls that I snorted had just killed me, and I was looking for them to do them again. I thought to myself at that point, I'll just do 1 and I'll be okay. 1 won't kill me. So, at that point, I was really in deep, and I started having more episodes where I was overdosing. It seemed like every time I would snort a fentanyl, I would overdose. And lucky thing was I was around people, so I had overdosed a few times, and and I was Narcaned. Like I said, lucky I was around somebody that they were able to Narcan me. Now I'm just out of control. Like I said, I'm living life. I'm addicted to fentanyl. I didn't know what to do. I was just in a real bad place. Then I got in contact with New England Recovery Center for the first time. I had checked myself in to New England Recovery Center, and I had gone through the program a little bit. I went through detox. I got to a point where I went up the hill. At that point, I wasn't ready. I checked myself out after a few days, and I went back to my house in Worcester. I immediately picked up again. I started using fentanyl. Having problems overdosing. Getting Narcan was like, if I snorted fentanyl, I probably overdosed, and I probably was Narcan. So now I'm getting Narcan all the time. And at this point, is when I contacted Mary Beth Adams. That woman saved my life. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
It's okay, Doobie.
She took me in. She told me that it didn't matter that I was already there. It didn't matter. And she stepped up. She like I said, she saved my life. She got me back into New England Recovery Center. And I went through the process. I went through the program. I went through detox. I went up the hill. I stayed as long as I could. I ended up going down to the RP program. And I just I got it this time. For some reason, it was just time. It was time for me to to stop playing around. And if I really wanted a good life, I had to stop, and I had to do it at that time. And yeah, like I said, without Mary Beth, I'm probably dead today. There's no doubt about it that I would have died. I would have overdosed and I would have died. And uh, I can't tell you how much that woman is. She's like she's like the Tom Brady of this industry. She's the GOAT. She's the greatest of all time.
I agree, Doobie.
Yeah, same.
I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, but
It's fine, man.
yeah, she saved my life. So I went through the program. I went through the ARP. I did everything. I did the detox. I did the Resi. I went through the RP program. I just, I like I said, I just got it at this point, and I was ready to make a change. I didn't want to live that life anymore. So, like I said, I went through the program. I graduated. And after a year, being out for a year, being a year clean, I applied at New England Recovery Center, and they hired me. And today, I'm very lucky that I have this job at New England Recovery Center. I have the ability to give back, and when I tell people my story here, and I see them, light up and say like, "Wow, man, I can do that." It really, it's really, it's really rewarding, that I get to do that. I only work, a few days. I work part-time, but it's very rewarding to come to work and know that, just me telling my story to somebody might give them, just a little bit of hope that, that I sat in those exact chairs. I sat in those chairs. I sat in that cafeteria. I went to those groups. I did everything that they're doing now. And, I was able to, to get where I am today. Like I said, it's a great program. If you work it and you really want to do it, if you work this program, it will save your life. There's no doubt about it that it works. I don't know really.
I wanted to ask, just because admittedly, right, like we work for Spectrum and Recovery Center, we know Mary Beth well, we echo all of your sentiments. But from my understanding that the second episode of treatment, you took part in the program, you did things a little differently, but you were also more open to treatment options that maybe you weren't as open to before, whether that be medication treatment, mental health support. Like, can you talk a little bit about why those added supports made a difference in this episode that pushed you towards this recovery that you're in now?
Like I said, I was just ready. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like I said, the first time I kind of just, I didn't really want to be there. I just, trying to do it just to, I was scared. I scared the shit out of myself. I had overdosed on, I was Narcan. I had paramedics at the end of my bed. I was scared the first time. I scared myself into rehab, and I wasn't ready. But the second time, I just got it. I put everything together. I used everything in the program, any medication, they wanted to give me, if they, like whatever they wanted to give me, whatever they wanted to do, I took their advice. I was just ready. That's all I could say. At that point, I was ready. The program worked for me. The program is a great program. Like I said, just work the program and it'll help you. It will save your life. If you get to that point, it will save your life. This program, there's no doubt about it.
Yep.
It works. Like I said, it just works. I just know that if you work the program, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
You'll be
And
all
some
right.
of it too, when you're scared, like it's hard to trust the process, right? And trust the advice. And so it sounds like the second time around, you already were familiar with the staff, you were familiar with the program. You know, you called Mary Beth to come back to us and got no judgment
Yep.
back, right?
Right.
And so, because one of the things that I think we recognize in treatment is that we can't expect people to just trust us off the bat, right? Like that sometimes we have to build that trust, and then
Right.
building that trust, then you're more likely to do exactly what you did, right? Julie, like you took our advice, you took whatever medication options we offered you, whatever supports we offered you, whatever level of
Right.
care transitions we offered you, right? Going from detox to like what, just so folks listening know, kind of when we say up the hill, we mean New England Recovery CSS, which is in the building up the road. And then our RP, which Jesse has some experience with for sure and can share. And that's our longer term residential program, right? Like of actually staying connected to care long term.
Yeah. And Doobie, I'm here. I'm getting like a little emotional, tearing up, just because I had the privilege and honor of seeing a lot of that story unfold, and see somebody who, the only thing I would push back on is, although you were scared the first time, like you said, you still showed some signs of willingness and opening it up, even the first time you were there. Like, granted, you
Yeah.
didn't, go through all the program that you went through the second time, and certainly, I remember when you left and you went home, and I probably told you, hey, this is a bad idea,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
you had the freedom of choice to make that decision, but there were still seeds of willingness there that just sort of grew the second time around, right? So you
Yep.
had this like inside that maybe you weren't ready that first time, but you still got something from it.
Right. Yep. Absolutely correct. I definitely did. And, like I said, when I called Mary Beth, within minutes, she had me in an Uber coming back. Like it was just amazing.
Sounds about right.
She's an amazing woman. There's no doubt about it. I can't say enough about that woman. It's how she saved my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, the program works. I mean, like I said, I'm working here now. I have a job here. I lost my license during this whole episode. I got my license back. I got a car. Life's pretty good for me right now, and it's all because of New England Recovery Center. They put me on the right track. They did all the right things for me. They gave me all the right tools, the medicine, whatever they did for me. It was the right thing, and I can't be happier where I am today right now. I'm really in a good place. I love my job. I love working here. Like I said, I like the fact that I can sit down with somebody and tell somebody, hey, bro, it's okay. I went through this program. I understand how you feel. And I know that, you might not like everything that, we're telling you to do, but, I did it. I went through it. And, I can tell them that, I'm proof. It's proofs in the pudding, right? Isn't that what they say? I got
Yeah.
the proof. I got the proof right here that it's doable, and I did it. And like I said, it's all without New England Recovery Center. I'm not around.
And what we can do is give you the options and the safe space to work on it, but you really did the work, right? Like it's not easy to do. And so I just want to make sure in your story that you're giving yourself the credit that you deserve for where you're sitting right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Like I said, I know I did do the work, and you know, it was hard. I'm not gonna. It wasn't easy. It was, there were days that I wanted to go home so bad. I mean, I didn't. I just some days I just didn't feel it, but I stuck with it, and I just worked it. I can't, I can't explain it any different than I worked the program. Everything they gave me, I took, and I used it. I used the tools. I used the, all the groups. Every one of those groups had an effect on me. They had something that I took from those groups, and was able to apply it towards my recovery. So you know, like I keep saying, it just works. I just know it works, and I'm glad that I'm working here now, and I'm glad I can help people. Um, so that's it. It's my story.
As the person who's responsible for the content in the groups, I'm really glad to hear that you took something from them. But I'd love to hear a little more about what you do to take care of your recovery now.
Um, I do a lot of praying now. I never was a real big pray person until I got into AA. And you know, it's a very spiritual um it's a very spiritual program when you're in AA and you're doing the work and you're going through the book. And I never was really a like God type person. I never really I didn't go to church. I didn't do a lot of those things. When I first started, in the program, I was like, oh man, are you kidding me? And then all of a sudden, I just got it. And I pray a lot. I pray every day. I pray in the morning. I pray that God or some spiritual something gives me the power to get through the day. Without a drug. And at the end of the day, then I thank them. I thank you for getting me through the day. So I do a lot of praying. Even like maybe in the middle of the day, I'm having a bad day, and I pray. I pray. So doing a lot of praying has really helped me out a lot.
Awesome. Glad to hear it, Dewey. That spiritual connection is so important to so many people, certainly myself included. I wanted to circle back with something that you said at the beginning of your story, sort of like what led you down this path in the beginning. These back surgeries, the 7 back surgeries, the 18
Yeah,
years of Percocet. I can't even imagine. And the pain, right? You said
yeah,
you have a surgery, you'd be good for a little while, and then something would happen and you have to have another surgery. Today, because I can't imagine your back Mary Beth is pretty powerful, but I don't think she can heal your back.
yeah.
So I imagine that, you're still dealing with something today with your back. And I'm just wondering, how do you deal with that differently today?
Um, you know, I just I just deal with it. I mean, I've had pain for so long that my back's been messed up for so long that, if my back pain is a 5 on a 1 to 10, I can deal with it. I just deal with it. I use ibuprofen. I take ibuprofen. I do a lot of stretching. Um, but I have pain every day. I mean, there's not a day that goes by where I don't have pain. I'm constantly in pain, but it's just whereabouts is it on a scale of 1 to 10, and as long as it's in a doable area, then I'm okay. But yeah, I deal with back pain every day. It's just an everyday thing for me, just normal.
Oh, well, I feel for you because that can derail anyone from anything in their lives. And so I think it's really impressive that you're, maintaining recovery and taking care of yourself. And some of it's just, I love how you describe it. Like, as long as it's tolerable, it just is, right? Like, it's just part of what I have to deal with. And, there's a lot of emerging research coming out that I think kind of ties even maybe to your spirituality that you've developed over your recovery process in sometimes mindfulness and acceptance of this is how the pain is, and this is just part of what I'm going to deal with. I'm going to do what I can, whether it's stretching or ibuprofen, and as long as it's in this range, I'll
Yeah,
be okay.
yeah,
And so some
absolutely.
of that is just that kind of acceptance and mindfulness, and not layering on the I wish it was different. It shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't have this pain, because that just increases your pain, right? Instead of like, I can do this, right? It's not comfortable. It's not, nobody wants to be at a 5 every day. That's really hard. right?
Right.
But I really appreciate the way that you describe it, because it's not easy.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's an everyday thing. It's just part of life now, and I just go about it. Ibuprofen. I mean, that's all I can do. I can't even think of like you know, going down that road again. I've worked way too hard to have something derail me like that. So I just deal with it. It's just like I said, it's just an everyday thing. It's just part of life now.
Yeah. And your lived experience tells you that that path and that cycle of use and addiction and Narcan and like it's worse, right? Like that is a harder suffering, right, than the everyday pain.
Right.
Yeah, and it's also finding out what goes back to acceptance, like Lisa said. Acceptance is different than approval. Obviously, I don't want to be in pain. Nobody wants to be in pain, right? But it's finding out what path works for you. And
Yeah.
for those, I heard you in your story, for those chunk of those 18 years, that worked, right?
Yep.
There was lots of surgeries, there's lots of pain medication, but that's what you needed. And then, yeah, the cycle of addiction and things change, and then you're running out, and then it's like, oh, this doesn't work anymore. And it sounds like you found a solution that worked. So I'm wondering, outside of work at New England Recovery Center, where you get to share your lived experience, and outside of prayer and what you do to maintain your personal recovery, what's life look like for you today, Doobie? What else is there that is important to you?
My family's pretty important. I have a great relationship with my family. Um, they're constantly checking on me. They're constantly, in my life, uh, you know, giving me anything that I need, any hope, anything that I need. My family's there for me. Um, you know, I go to a lot of meetings. I mean, I probably go to a meeting just about every day. I go to some sort of a meeting. Um, and meetings are a big part of my life now. And I like to go. I like to hear the story. I like to hear people's stories. Um, like I say, other than that, I mean, I work, I go to meetings. Um, I'm a sports fan. I like to watch ball games. There's a lot of good stuff going on right now. So, I watch a lot of sports. Um,
Just not the
but other than
Patriots. Not good right now.
yeah, that's not the case.
Sorry,
We got to
Joey.
pay. We have to pay for it now. All the years that we had success, now it's time to pay.
Yep.
Yep, I agree. I
Can't
agree.
win every year.
No. So yeah, that's like I said, I work, I go to a lot of meetings, I do things with my family, and that's it. It's not. I mean, it's kind of simple. I don't live a crazy life. It's kind of boring, my life actually, but I like it. I like where I'm at. Um, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it for anything. My story, it is what it is. I went through what I had to go through, but for some reason, that's the life that I had to go through. I had to do that, and I'm where I'm at now, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, we've
And I
talked about it on this podcast and in lots of different ways, but really the evidence around happiness continues to show that real happiness for those in recovery or not, just in general, happiness really comes from a couple of things that you're living in your life right now, right? So purpose and connection. And
Yep.
that's where we find true happiness. And so sometimes I think your description of you went through the things that you had to go through to get to where you are, because it lands you directly in a place to have purpose and connection, right? So
Yep.
that makes sense to me.
Yeah. And I would add too, Doobie, that I heard you say, my life's pretty boring right now. I just I do these handful of things, and that's my life. And I would say, that's stability. that's, life isn't supposed to be this roller coaster of intense emotion every day. It, maybe little bunny hills, but
Right.
it's life on life's terms. It'll,
Yep.
throw you a curveball. I heard you say you got your license back and you get a car now again, and certainly one day you'll get in the car and the tire will be flat, or the engine won't, do what it's supposed, whatever, and you deal with it, right? Life on life's
Yep.
terms. But you know, um, like Lisa said, with happiness, it's living out that purpose. It's living out, okay, I went through that stuff, and now here's almost like the reward of it. Here's the benefit to it, right?
Yeah.
Here, yeah,
Yep. I agree 100%.
And we really get the benefit of not just being part of your recovery story, but now getting to work alongside you to hopefully help other people do that. Like, it's my favorite thing. Jesse knows this. I say all the time when we have someone's story that was directly impacted by our services, it reminds us kind of why we do what we do. And the fact that you are working for us now is just even that much more special, really.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think, like I said, it's, you know, mind boggling, like where I was a couple of years ago to being, to being, an employee now of Spectrum of New England Recovery Center. And, like I said before, it's so rewarding when, somebody says, when I tell somebody my story and they go, oh, I can do that.
yeah,
Just
you can.
hearing that in somebody's voice, is it's so worth it. It's a great feeling to know that I can affect somebody's life just by telling them, a 3-minute story of, how I came through this program and how, where I am today. It's good just to, see the look on somebody's face and hear the hope, to hear the hope in their voice is, it's pretty special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you balance the hard, right? Because there's hope, there's lots of success and lots of recovery that happens, but we also know that sometimes it's a longer journey for some. And so sometimes people leave AMA or they leave before they're ready. And it can be hard working while you're in recovery, working in a recovery environment, right? Seeing people kind of at their worst, and sometimes it's not their time, right? So they're
Right.
not yet at that point where they're saying yes to everything we're suggesting or developing their own recovery pathway and with their choice. Like, how do you balance how hard that can be sometimes to watch?
Um, like I said before, I do a lot of praying, and praying helps me, you know, it helps me balance. It helps me, get focused. You know, I don't, I mean, like, I don't really know what more to say as opposed to, like I do a lot of praying. Um, and, um, you know, I don't know. I just do a lot of praying
Yeah.
now, and it really helps. It really helps me, um, get a feel of things. It's hard. I mean, it's not an easy thing. It's not like, every day my life is, like great. I mean, there are times where, I get depressed and, I'm feeling low and, it seems like nothing's working for me that day, that I just might be, in one of those funks. But, I seem to just be able to fight through it. When I'm down, you know, I pray and, like I said, coming from a guy who never believed in God and never had any type of spiritual of anything in his life, to pray as much as I do today is really
Pretty,
crazy if you think about it.
pretty amazing, I would say, Doobie.
Yeah, it
Pretty
really
amazing.
is. It really is. And like I said, it really does ground me. It really does
Yeah.
keep me. It keeps me in line. I mean, it
Yeah.
really does. It really helps me out. Just asking God. God, please help me today. Help me take away the urge.
Hmm.
Just by asking Him to help take away the urge is something that I do daily.
Yeah.
The serenity prayer comes to mind, right?
Yep,
Where,
absolutely.
courage,
God, grant me
wisdom,
the serenity. Yep,
yeah,
yep,
acceptance, right? So,
absolutely.
kind of to Lisa's question there about, how to deal with the hard, because
Yep,
I certainly can identify with that. I got sober at Spectrum, and, I ended up back at that campus that you're at right now. And, I want to work here, and I want to help people, and I want to, be that same change of the people that help me, like the Mary Beths of the world.
yep,
And, then people leave AMA, or people say,
right,
no, I don't want to do that. I'm doing this. And
right.
it's like you hit a brick wall almost. It's like, can't you just see what's on the other side of this, right? But
Yeah,
like it's been said here before, everyone has their time, and, building up on that willingness, like the fact is you were at least willing enough to show up the first time at NERC and go through the detox,
right,
right? That's more than some people, right? Maybe
right,
some people get there and then say, after a few days or a few hours or whatnot, like, nope, not doing it, thanks, bring me home or I'll leave. um
right.
but you had that willingness, and then it builds up on it, and to sort of, like kind of like reap what you sow, right?
Yeah,
You're
yep,
planting all those seeds. You're saying, whether you're here for, a short time or a long time, you get some benefit from it. And then, who knows? Maybe you're going to be somebody's Mary Beth. You probably already
yeah,
were, if I'm honest with you, Doobie, where
Yeah.
somebody leaves and comes back and says, "Oh, you're still here. Oh,
yeah,
remember when we
yep,
talked about this,
yep.
and this is how you helped me." So it's all kind of circular.
Yeah, there's been, like there's been, people that I went through the program with, and they're coming back, and it's just to be able to give somebody hope, um, is a great feeling. I mean, I don't even know how to explain the feeling, but it's just, you know, just that, like I said before, just hearing the tone of their voice, just hearing them say, you know what, I'm going to do that. When I get out of here, I'm going to come work here. Um, you know, just being able to give somebody hope is, you know, is a great feeling. And it keeps me, I love coming to work. I love coming back. When somebody leaves AMA, or I can't talk them out of it, and they just, they made up their mind and they're gonna leave. I kind of feel that every time. It's I have this feeling of like maybe like I don't know, like an I don't know. It's just a weird feeling that I get when I can't help somebody stay and they leave. It's it's a it's not a good feeling. And I wish I could help everybody. I wish I could talk every single person out of leaving AMA, but I can't. And I have to realize that, and know that I can only do as much as I can do. I can only do so much, and then it's up to them. And yeah,
You can
I
send them prayers, right? Like you
yeah,
can send them those prayers and that wish for a different pathway, and you've built that connection and trust, right? And those
yeah,
seeds, like Jesse was talking about, have been planted in our treatment programs, in our groups, in the connections with staff like you do, be like that has impacted that person, even if they made a choice you didn't necessarily wish they would make in that moment. That way, next time that they're like, you know what, I'm going to give another go at this recovery thing, they're going to call us and know we'll take them back. And they're not starting
yeah,
from scratch. They're starting from experience, and they're starting from what they already learned and then can build on more and more. And so I think that like stories like yours reinforce that for us, but we know that to be true, that every time somebody comes into one of all of our programs, inpatient, outpatient, anywhere, but that inpatient treatment is that unique opportunity that's often where people call when they're their most desperate, when they're their most scared. You described that so well.
right,
And our opportunity in that time is to just plant as many seeds as we can, offer as many options, as much evidence-based care as we can, and start that process. And maybe that takes them straight through to long-term recovery, or maybe it takes a few times, but it's all worth it. Every one of those episodes of care is worth it.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
I just need to point out the kind of funny part of this, that, here's somebody who the first time you couldn't wait to get out of NERC, right? You're like,
Yeah.
I'm going back to Worcester. And
Yeah.
now not only did you come back, you stayed for a long time. Now you come back every day.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's like those things that, maybe with lived experience or in recovery that, sort of, I don't want to say get desensitized to, but you hear those stories a lot. You hear those stories of hope, like your story of hope, right? This has been one of the more, I say it all the time. I'm so excited for these guests. I love what I get to do here on the podcast. This has been one of the more personal and professional, like satisfying episodes where I remember when you walked in, right?
Yep.
I remember having those conversation with you, like I said, about like, probably not a good idea to go home right now, Doobie. But you did it anyway,
Right.
right? Because you had that freedom. And then you also had the freedom to come back. And then,
Right.
every time I see you, just that light that lights up, right? Where, these stories of hope, they almost don't like make sense logically,
Yeah.
but we know there's a change, right? You've been describing this change that happened. Like I used to not even go to church, and now I like pray all the time. Or
Right.
like, I used to, whatever, live out this way of life, and then it's like so different in another way, right? I say it all the time on the podcast. Like I showed up to that campus on parole,
Yeah.
and the last job I had was the clinical supervisor of the detox, like literally the inmates running the asylum. That doesn't make sense on paper, right? My probation officer is now a Christmas card friend. That doesn't make sense, right? But it's by doing the things that you do, that you're doing right now, right? The open-mindedness that you've showed,
Yeah.
where you showed up the second time and said, all right, I'll trust, right? The
Yeah.
first time was almost like a recon mission. You were just
Right.
checking us out,
Yep.
right? And then the second time you showed up, you're like, all right, they mean business, they know what they're
Yep.
talking about, I'll trust
Yep.
them.
Yeah. Like I said, I just, the first time I just, I was there because I think, I was scared. You don't, when you overdose, and, you wake up and there's paramedics at the bottom of your bed, you know, you see, it kind of scares the crap out of you. So, at that point I did, what I had to do, I think, just because I was scared. And, the second time I wanted it. I didn't, like I said, I was sick and tired of, how much money I spent on drugs. Can I tell you, like, I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on drugs. I emptied out, I maxed out credit cards for cash. I spent so much money on drugs. It was crazy the amount of money I spent on drugs. And, like I said, I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I didn't want to
Yeah.
I didn't want to live my life like that anymore. I didn't want to, have to hustle around to try to, call my drug dealer, wait for him to call me back. Then I'm waiting, and then, you're like waiting for him, and all this things you go through when you're a drug addict. All the parts of, living your daily life every day. Every day was a hassle. I just didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to live that life. I didn't want to run around like that anymore. And that's why, you know, that's why I think the second time around it stuck, because I was sick and tired of living that life. I didn't want to live that life no more.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a real gift for me to listen to today. I really appreciate you reaching out and really asking if you could share your story on the podcast. That makes me really happy. Appreciate James for putting those videos out to remind folks in our programs that we are here, although I have to see my face every time I walk into a Spectrum building. I just has just been a real gift. And Doobie, I really look forward to working with you for years to come. I'm looking forward to moving to Westboro and our home office moves there, and we'll have lots of opportunity to connect. So I just thank you for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you. I
everything
I appreciate you guys having me. And just in closing, I'm just gonna say, if someone's out there and they're listening and they're hurting, it's here. There's help. There's help for you. It's a process. They got a great program. They have people like Mary Beth Adams who will really save your life. So if you're hurting and you need help, come to New England Recovery Center. They'll help you out.
I'm also here for this being a Mary Beth Adams appreciation episode. So I love
She's
it.
something else. There's no doubt about it. That woman saved my life. So
Yep.
she's the best.
Well, thank you very much, Juby. I echo all those sentiments about Mary Beth Adams, and I would just add to, anybody to your closing remarks, anybody that's listening or anybody that will listen that needs help to reach out, and there'll be a Ralph Doobie there as well to help.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
thank you for sharing your story. To anybody else that's listening or will listen, do all the fun stuff. If you like this podcast, to hear more of us, like, subscribe. We put it out every month and more often in recovery month. So come on back for another great episode next time. Thanks, everybody.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Okay.
Thank you. You too.